Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday Live. It's that time of the week again for some arty fun. And of course, today we're going to be working on a bunny rabbit as a bit of Easter inspiration. So my name is Ashley Hay. I'm a mixed media artist and I've been working with Powertex for over 10 years now. And so I really hope that this episode inspires you to create something for a bit of fun this weekend and that you really enjoy it. So where are we up to? Last week, of course, I showed you a little bit of forming and structural form with your sculptures, just using wire masking tape and alfoil. So if you did miss that one, you can watch the replay as well. So be sure to do that. Alrighty, so I've got my bunny here next to me, all formed, ready to go. And of course, you saw the finished one in the promotion for today. And that one was one that I actually did in a class with Christy Margam Elkins. So huge shout out to her. And of course, she is coming to the studio to run a rabbit class before Easter. So if you'd like to come and join us in the studio, then that is one to look out for. You will find that on Facebook events. Alrighty, so let's get cracking. So you can see that he is actually painted with some Powertex. I've used the bluish grey to paint him. And then I've actually put some 3D sand with the bluish grey Powertex onto his face as well. If you are here, I'd love it if you pop in and say hello in the comments. I love to see who's on watching, and that way I can also hopefully give you a few tips and tricks along the way. So welcome. Alrighty, so I have actually put a little bit of 3D sand, like I was saying, on his little face here. And so you can see here that he is actually a little bit smoother on that facial area. And that is because the sand works so well to smooth down the tape a little bit. Now, he was a little bit ruggedly taped, I've got to say, because I told you last week I made him in the car, so he was a little bit rough and ready and probably a little bit more taggy than he usually is with the tape. But it has smoothed it down relatively well. By the time he is finished, he will look amazing on his art surfaces. Okay, so what I'm going to show you first of all is how to use 3D sand to get this really lovely effect. Then I'll show you a little bit of stone art that has been mixed into a clay, and we'll work on his nose and his little face here. And then next week I'll show you something else, and we might actually embellish that so that it comes up nicely as well. We'll see how we go next week. Alrighty. So, hey, Mariana, Donna, lovely to see you both. Thanks for popping in. Have you started a rabbit? Or maybe you've started some other bottle art. So the rabbits are absolutely gorgeous fun. And of course, you can give them their own personality depending on how you do the face, the tilt of the head, the expression, the shape of the ears. All of that will actually create a different character. Alrighty, so I keep wanting to say Roger Rabbit. So if for those of you who remember the old cartoon, I'm sure some of you do. And so with the 3D sand, this is what it is. So the 3D sand from Powertex, and it actually isn't sand. It is really interesting because it is more like a pumice. So it's very refined, because when I first got it, I went, why can't I just use the sand from the hardware or the beach? But it's really refined and it makes a really beautiful thick paste, and it goes on just superbly. So what I've got is I've got a palette knife, I've got a, hang on, I'll just move these bits off. I've got a palette knife, I've got a little bit of Powertex in a cup here. And so I'm just going to pop some, oh, that's an awful lot. So I've popped out a bit of the grey Powertex, quite a lot of the grey, so I didn't mean, oh, to put that much out. Tip a little bit of the sand there. I know what I'll be doing after the live today. I'll be using all of this up. So Donna's just saying, unfortunately, she's a bit too busy for crafting right now. Lots of curling. Awesome. I actually looked up curling the other week. Donna, I do confess, and it looks like a lot of fun. So it's like lawn bowls except on ice is what it looks like. Hilarious. But no, it looks really, really awesome. I watched some of it for quite a while the other week. It was a bit of fun. So I have noticed that you've been doing some Zentangles, Donna, so you've been having a bit of a play with that. So that's been nice to see. It's always nice to at least, you know, keep up a bit of drawing and having a bit of creative play in some way, even if life gets in the way sometimes, right? Okay, so there we have it. So I've mixed up that. I'll hold it up for you. So you can see it's a really lovely paste. And so it has around about, you don't want any more than 50% Powertex and sand. Otherwise it kind of splits. It hasn't got enough binder to actually stay on. So you can see it's this really yummy paste that can be used either for texture or to do what we're going to do today, which is actually, you know, make some of these taped areas look nicer. So what I'm going to do is I'll just show you just on the arm here how I'm going to put that on. And I've actually done this on the face. So you can see there's still some little areas here which I could touch up a little bit more and get in there, but I can actually do that with a bit of the stone art clay as well if it's still bothering me as I go. All right, so sometimes what I do like to do, and I generally do this, get it just a little bit of Powertex on my brush. I don't use too much, just enough to dampen that area where I'm going to be putting the sand, because the sand actually already has the Powertex in it as well. But I'm just putting some of that back onto there, and we'll go down the body a little bit there, and away we go. Then we just get our paste and we're going to just put that on with the palette knife. And you can see it takes out all the sort of lumps and bumps. And I'm just spreading that. Then I'm going to use the best tool in the house, which just put my finger in some water there. So I've just got a damp finger, and then I just get my damp finger and I can just run that over that surface. So you can see, if we zoom in, you can see that that's going nice and smooth, which is what we want. We don't want it to look like masking tape by the time we've finished. We want it to have a beautiful surface. And like I was saying last week, it's these little bits of attention to detail where you actually pay attention to the finishes of your surfaces that are really going to make the difference to your artwork. So I'm just going into that little crevice without filling the crevice. You don't want a really wet finger, like that was a little bit wet that time. Didn't mean to splash on so much water. You just want your finger to be damp just so that you can actually move it and swoop and smooth it. Move it and smooth it. It's a tongue twister. Okay, and I'll get into this little area too that's just above his leg there, and I'm just using up the 3D sand that I've got made up. So you can see I just put it on fairly roughly with the palette knife, and then I just get my finger in there and move it to where I want to take it. It's a lot of fun. And now if you are a painter, you can actually every surface that I'm doing on the sculpture, you can play with in your mixed media artwork as well. So you're not limited to doing it on a 3D surface, obviously. You can actually take it onto, knocking things around here, you can actually take it onto a, flat two-dimensional surface that you're playing with, which is the beauty of Powertex. So I'm just going to make up a little bit more because I've got some left over here. So, oops, don't put your, note to self, don't put your hand on the 3D sand that you've just created. And so you can see I'm using just under 50% Powertex and sand so that it's not going to split and come away from my artwork, because we definitely don't want that to happen. Want to make sure that whatever you're doing, I've used up a little bit too much Powertex, throw a bit more sand in there. So you can see that's a bit more of a runny sort of consistency. So I can add a little bit more sand in there just to get it a little bit stiffer. And you'll know when you've added too much because it'll be really dry and crispy, and you'll go, yeah, whoops, maybe I need a little bit more Powertex. So, of course, we're using the Powertex Ultimate Medium. For those of you who aren't familiar, it is absolutely brilliant. So it sticks to anything. It acts like a glue. You can paint with it, sculpt with it, do all sorts of amazing creative surfaces with this incredible medium. So I'm just going to take that onto the top of his little leg there as well. Use some of this Powertex that's on my palette here. So I'm just really using, I like to use all my product. I'm not a fan of wasting anything, and if I leave it lying there, it's just going to dry off and I won't be able to use it. So we'll get in there, give him another bit of a coat on that leg there. And the sand for painting is absolutely incredible. So you can get some gorgeous, gorgeous textural effects with Powertex. And Powertex really makes it very, very, very easy to create art, which, you know, I love. So whether you're beginning with your art journey or whether you're a more experienced artist, you'll find that with Powertex it just makes everything a little bit easier to do. Okay. So hop to it and get creating some bunnies for Easter. You'll have a lot of fun. Fun is guaranteed. Hey, Alison from Northern Ireland. Lovely. Must be very early there at the moment. Must be the middle of the night, I would have thought. So maybe you've just woken up and gone, oh, I'll just, you know, watch a little bit of Ashley live in the middle of the night. So, or have you come back from like a night shift or something? Do you work late? There we go. So you can see how different that surface is. So you can still see a couple of little bits where the masking tape is popping through, but it just becomes a totally different surface. It's a lot nicer, and it just really smooths off that tape. I'm just going to get this little tiny bit that I've got left here, and I'll fill in that little gap there with that. And that's where you want to turn your sculpture around. So Alison's just saying, yes, it's 2:15 and I'm a bit mad. So welcome, the Mad Hatters. So no, that's great. Great to have you here, and that's real commitment, I think. Okay, so that's the 3D sand. So it is absolutely fabulous. I highly recommend it. If you don't have any, get a hold of some. It is totally different to regular sand. It's not the same. It's like a pumice, because I remember when I first got it, I went, who's going to pay for sand? But it was so popular, the little starter packs that I have that have the different sized balls and a sample of the sand. So it's got the 4 different things. So the small balls, the medium balls and the large balls. And then it's also got the sand. It's a great little pack if you want to get started. It's just the 3D sand and balls starter pack. And there's actually more in it than you think. So it goes a long way. But you can also get the sand in a bigger tub, which is really handy. And then you can get it in a giant tub if you love it that much. Alrighty, so he's looking pretty cool. Someone's just saying, do you do this all over the rabbit or just around the join? Okay, that is a fantastic question. So where I do it is I do it on the surfaces that I'm going to see at the end. So next week I'm going to show you how to do a beautiful sort of fabric front on him, like a gorgeous little tummy, which is all soft and furry, and we'll put some soft furriness on his ears as well. And so there's no need for me to do the sand surface where you're not going to see. So those areas that I'm going to do a different textural effect on, there's no point me doing the sand, otherwise I'm just wasting my product. So I'm doing it in areas where I know I'm not going to do anything. Like I might put, obviously I'm going to put a little nose on here, so I might be putting, you know, some stone art features on here, but some of this underneath surface is actually going to still pop through. So I would rather just do the whole surface, and then I know that even though I'm putting on another surface on his little face, he's got his face is started and it is smoothed off, and so if I don't cover the whole thing, it's actually got a nice undercoat that is going to look superb. So I hope that answers your question. And does anyone else have any questions? Not to see, but Donna's just saying, yes, curling is great fun, and she does the Zentangles only when she has a few minutes and just needs a break. So a great way to relax. The Zentangles are so meditative, aren't they? I know, because I used to do the same thing when I was just wanting to doodle and relax. It's you get into a really lovely arty headspace. And it's a bit like art meditation, really. All right. So what I want to show you now is I have some pre-made clay. It is made with the black Powertex, and so I have put in the notes what I have used in today's live. So it's actually been made into a clay using the stone art, which comes from Powertex, and also the black ultimate medium. Now I could have the clay made in the grey and use a grey clay, but I don't mind doing it in the darker colour because then I can highlight it. And also we're going to do his little black nose like this. So this has been made with the clay, and then it's been painted using a little bit more black Powertex, so it's really black, and then it has a coat of Easy Coat Glossy on it, so you can either use Easy Coat Glossy or Easy Varnish to gloss it up once that Powertex has dried. So this is the sort of thing we're going for. So you can see this surface here, it's all nice and smoothed off with the sand, and then this is just painted back into with some titanium white power colour, and a little bit, I think I used a little bit of red ochre or mocha as well on there. And then his little teeth are obviously made with some stone art clay as well. And I think I used ivory clay to do his little teeth. But then you can just paint it titanium white as well, which will come up lovely. So I'm going to show you how to do the nose, and what I want to do with this one is he's not going to have little bucky teeth. I'm going to do a different expression on him. So he's just going to have a little smiley face here. And so what I want to do is I want to give him that little jowly look, so he gets that little lovely little happy face. Yeah. Oops. And I've just done, I've just touched all of that wet 3D sand that I've just done. So that's where it's good. If you do a process, just do the process, let it dry, or note to self, don't touch where it's wet. Okay. All right, so let's have some fun and make a little, so I just want a little bit of a ball. And I'm just going to shape it into a sort of nose-like shape. So you can see he's already got a nose-like shape. Just using my hands there to do that. And I can shape it any which way I like. So there's no right or wrong, so just do it. You can look at some pictures. Look at that, isn't that cute? So I can make his nose a little bit wider, I think, a little bit flatter, so it's more. Okay, that's going to look pretty nice. All right, so then what I want to do is I'm just going to get a little bit of Powertex, and I'm going to pop a little bit of Powertex just on the back of there. And then we'll pop that down on there. Gorgeous, look at that. He's now got a lovely little nose, and I'm going to use the end of a brush. I think I've got a brush here. No, must have left them in the other room. It's all good. What can I use instead? I've got a big fat brush. Okay, so this was a really lovely tip, thanks to Christy, just to get, you know, something round like your brush and just give him some little nostrils in there. So you can do that however you like. So if we have a look at this one, oh, I didn't give him any nostrils. Anyway, that's up to you. That's up to you. Nostrils or no nostrils. I did kind of like his little bunny nose before. So if you don't like something, you can always, you know, fix it up as well and just change things. So if you do it in the wrong spot, or, you know, you're not loving it, just redo it. And of course, I'm going to be painting it black anyway. So I did kind of like his little shiny nose, shiny face. Oop. Okay, so he's still got a little bit of nostrils there. So see how easily you can change things. So if you don't want something and you've made a creative decision, you can easily just pull things off and do it again. It's so forgiving, the Powertex. So for those of you who haven't tried it yet, you're going to love it. Powertex art supplies are available around the world. And of course, here in Australia, if you can get it from Powertex Australia. If you're in Queensland, you can get it from Bag End Studios, which now have a new premises. So it's a lot easier to get there, and I know Natalie will be running some classes, and so will some of the other Down the Rabbit Hole girls, who I know Michelle Payne is actually running one very soon. All right, so there's his little nose there. So I believe Natalie's face is in Yurungapilli. I think I've said that. Natalie's just hopping on now, and it's so exciting. I'm so excited for you, Natalie. And yes, I know you're opening the space despite the flooding, which is very, very exciting. And I wish I could be with you there this weekend. So I'm sure it will be absolutely wonderful. So if you are there, get along and have a look, and I'm sure it'll be wonderful. So, yeah, those of you who are in northern New South Wales and Queensland and where the flooding is happening, our thoughts go out to you. Alrighty, there's his nose. Now we want to do those little cheeky jowls down in here so that he gets that little happy smile. And Natalie's going to be doing an Easter bunny for Easter as well. So very, very exciting. So I loved your geisha, Natalie. It was gorgeous. And so here, what we want to do is we just want to create that lovely little smiley jowl. So you can kind of pre-make the shapes and then make sure that it's the right shape that you want for on there. So whether it's big enough, you're not really going to see it totally, get the total effect until after it has been embellished with the white. And that's where you'll get that real contrasting look. So you can see what I'm doing here, I hope. So there we go. So you can see it's like a little teardrop shape. And so I'm just going to put that little teardrop shape on one side, and I'll make one that's essentially the same size for the other side so that they can come together and make that little smile, that little bit that goes under their nose. So the challenge will be to make it the same size. But close enough is good enough, right? Really looking forward to having Christy come back into the Powertex studio again and make some rabbits with us. So it's a bit exciting. So that's Christy from Chris Art. If you haven't seen her work is gorgeous. So she does some absolutely incredible artwork. Okay, so they're looking a similar size. They're just kind of different shapes. I've probably got more clay on this one than I've got on the other one, but that's okay. Close enough is good enough. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm just going to pop a little bit of Powertex just on his little face here. If I get any on the nose, like I have already, see how his nose is not quite black now. Like I said to you before, I'm going to paint that black anyway so that he gets a really gorgeous little shiny nose on there. And it will just come up beautifully. Who's excited? Who is doing something, creating something that they're excited about? What are you creating? What are you loving doing? I'd love to hear what you've been up to creatively. Now, it's really, really handy to use some sculpture tools. So instead of just using your fingers, these tools are super, super handy to use and have in your kit. And you can actually get into some smaller spaces. You can really mold and shape things a lot more easily. So if you have already got some of those in your stash, then you want to really be using those. So I'm just going to squash that down at the front there so that it's really sitting under his nose. And then what I've done here is I've squashed it right up against that section, so it's really nice and flat in there and there's no big gaps. Then we'll put the one on the other side. So again, you can see I can take that sculpture tool now. He's starting to get that little beautiful little smiley bit happening there. If I want to, I can bring them a little bit closer together so that he actually comes down a bit more. And then I can just get my sculpture tool in there and shape that around, and that's where these are really fantastic. Kebab sticks are also super handy. Kebab sticks are also a really handy tool to have there in your stash of stuff. And so again, I'm just making sure it's nice and flat up there. Then we'll come in under his little cheeky jowl there. Look at that. He's got a bunny face now. So, don't know if you can, there we go. I think you can see that. I'll just see if I can hold him towards the light. And so he's got this little happy little bunny face happening there. So it's looking very cute and will work really well once it is worked back into. So moulding your form with the stone art clay is absolutely brilliant. So, you know, you can see how I got most of the form done with the alfoil, masking tape, wire and styrofoam ball, but then I'm continuing to create the form using and the details using the stone art. So if I want to, you know how they've got the little chinny bit in underneath as well, I can just make a little bit of a coil, little bit of a fat coil, and we can see how it would look. There we go. So we can pop that in under there so that he's going to have a little bit of a mouth. Look at that. He looks so cute. And this is where you want to really turn your sculpture upside down and have a look at it from different angles. So you can see that whilst it looked good at the front, it's not really joined properly under here. So what we'll do is we'll just make sure that's joining up and get it so it's really stuck down very well. And I can see better how those little jowly pieces are looking as well from this angle. Little mouth in there, it's so gorgeous. And just make sure it's really stuck down well. Then I can get, while I'm there, I can get a little bit more of the grey Powertex and I can actually just paint that under there, might as well. And then I can make sure that clay is really stuck down very well underneath. So I've just got rid of any gaps that are happening there. And he's gorgeous. Look at his little face. Okay, and they do get to a point where they start to speak to you and tell you what they want. And so what I can do now is I can actually paint these back to the bluish grey if I want to, or I can leave them that colour, and when I'm doing my embellishing, that will sort out the colour anyway. So I want his colour to be a little bit different to his face. So let's just put the bluish grey on there because I think you'll then see his little smile. So we'll see if we can bring up his smile a little bit. So I won't use too much. I'll just get in under there, paint that back to the grey. Makes his little nose stand out again. His little face, look at that. Okay. So I think you can see his little mouth there now. So he'll be super cute once he's finished. And you just want to, like I say, really pay attention to your details. Look at photographs of how, you know, different expressions of rabbits, and then you know, work on your own ideas from there. So Donna's saying that she's making black and white ribbon hair clips as part of her curling costumes. That sounds great. And you're going to be Team Salt and Pepper this weekend. That's funny. Awesome. And the spiel is things that go together. Yes, nice. Salt and pepper, definitely. You'll have to post some pics, Donna. And Natalie was just saying something as well. I thought I saw her say. Anyway, I don't think so. Maybe it was just Donna's comment. All right, so there we have it. So I would then work on his little brows, some of his other features, and I'll just work on that until I get it exactly how I want it. And other than that, it's time to play with some other textures. So I could roll out some clay. What I've done on this one, so if we have a look back to this one, what I've done on him is I've rolled out a bit of clay, and then I've just got a rubbing plate, so a texture plate. I've pressed that into the clay, and then I've added that onto the body and then painted the titanium white back into here. But like I say, I want to do something different on his front. So we'll do something different next week to finish him off on the front. And this week I'll work on his little face as well. So hopefully by next week I'll have that all brushed up. So I might brush up one side and then show you as well how to do a bit of embellishing. But if we don't have enough time for that next week, because I've already got a plan, then I'll have to show you that next time. Alrighty, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful arty weekend. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you're feeling inspired to create something, and whether it's on the weekend, Donna, or whether it's during the week, whatever time takes you, I hope I've inspired you with a bit of arty creativity to keep you going. And if you do want to learn more about Powertex, of course, you can go to the Powertex website or chat to a local trainer near you. Alrighty, everyone, have a wonderful weekend. Ciao for now. Bye.